The quartz visor reflects only an ocean of dead craters and the absolute void of space. What happens to the human mind when planet Earth completely vanishes from a spacecraft window? In the next few minutes, we'll delve into the deepest 45 minutes of radio silence in history and reveal what the first crew encountered as they plunged into the lunar shadow. The Apollo capsule floats on a precise mathematical trajectory, crossing the invisible line that separates light from darkness. Behind the astronauts, the blue and white sphere holding all of humanity's history shrinks, swallowed by the curved horizon of a barren rock. No engines are firing at this moment, just cold, silent inertia pulling three men towards the abyss. The moon's far side isn't just a geographical place, it's an unforgiving physical barrier. A massive rock wall over 3,400 kilometers in diameter that blocks any radio wave, any telemetry, any distress call. When the spacecraft crosses this boundary, the invisible umbilical cord linking the crew to mission control is summarily severed. They're heading where no human eye has ever looked, to the hemisphere the moon has kept turned away from us since the dawn of the solar system. And as radio static overtakes their headphones, a primordial darkness envelops the cabin, setting the stage for what they are about to witness. A green cathode ray tube screen at mission control displays a flat line of dead telemetry. It's December 1968, and the room in Houston is steeped in a heavy silence, broken only by the ticking of clocks and the hum of fans. Borman, Lovell, and Anders have just become the first human beings to lose absolute contact with Earth. Their spacecraft travels over 8,000 kilometers per hour, gliding behind the lunar disk. But what no one realized was the exact brutality of this signal cut. The telemetry didn't gradually weaken like a car radio losing its station when entering a tunnel. It simply ceased to exist. In 1 millisecond, there was the comforting noise of flight controllers, and in the next millisecond, just the vacuum. This is the moment when celestial mechanics impose their absolute law. The colossal mass of the moon is now physically between the capsule and their home planet. And inside the pressurized cabin, the three astronauts aren't just floating in the dark. They have a critical task to execute. To avoid being flung back into deep space, they need to fire the main engine exactly now at the orbit's blind spot without any help from Houston's computers. If the engine burns for too long, the capsule plunges towards the lunar surface and smashes. If it burns for too little, they are ejected into a solar orbit from which they can never return. They must blindly trust the instruments while looking through the hatch at a landscape no terrestrial map could accurately predict. The engine ignites. Vibration courses through the spacecraft's aluminum structure, and when the thrust ceases, they find themselves stabilized in orbit, 111 kilometers high, gliding over the most isolated territory in the known universe. And that's when the true nature of this place reveals itself. The red warning light on the communications panel silently blinks within the pressurized cabin. Up to this point, the mission was routine. Up to this point, when the astronauts' eyes finally adjust to the absence of direct sunlight, illuminated only by the pale glow of stars and the distant reflection of the Milky Way, the far side surface begins to take shape. And what they see contradicts the peaceful image of the moon we have from Earth.
The moon's visible side, the one we observe every night, is marked by large dark plains, the so-called basaltic seas, which give the moon that smooth, familiar appearance. But the far side is a cosmic graveyard of terrifying proportions. This side's crust is tens of kilometers thicker. There are no calm seas here. There is only chaotic topography, brutalized by billions of years of asteroid and comet impacts. The spacecraft flies over craters within craters, overlapping scars on a scale the human mind struggles to process. They pass over the Aitken Basin, a colossal depression over 2,000 kilometers in diameter and 13 kilometers deep, one of the largest impact craters in the entire solar system. The visual sensation isn't of orbiting a satellite, but of falling to an ancient battlefield, frozen in time, where the violence of the primitive cosmos was etched into the rock. The astronauts observe sharp mountains that have never felt the erosion of wind or water, silently rising from the depths of dark abysses. 384,000 kilometers from home, the physical reality of the universe asserts itself. And that's just the part the data confirms. Because looking at this absolute devastation, knowing you're the only living being within hundreds of thousands of kilometers, triggers something far deeper. The confirmation of alien geography opens the doors to a psychological vastness no simulator on Earth could replicate. The radio silence begins to weigh not as a technical failure, but as a physical presence within the spacesuit. The pale reflection of the dials illuminates the pilot's tense face floating in the cabin's darkness. The hum of the life support systems is the only sound that exists, breathing echoing inside the helmet, the metallic click of a switch being flipped. The perspective shifts. We're no longer looking at the moon out there. We're looking at the human mind in here. Mission control doesn't exist. Families don't exist. The history of human civilization, the wars, the arts, the borders, all of it is hidden behind an impenetrable rock wall. To the universe, at this exact moment of radio silence, humanity is reduced to 3 men encapsulated in a fragile metal cylinder. And what if the true abyss of the far side isn't the alien landscape out there, but the crushing isolation that awakens within human consciousness? They are more isolated than any explorer in Earth's oceans has ever been. A sailor lost in the Pacific still breathes the same air, still feels the same gravity, still looks at the same stars. Here, the very texture of reality is alien. The absence of Earth in the sky creates a cognitive vacuum. The human brain evolved under sunlight and the comforting presence of the terrestrial horizon. To remove that is to remove the anchor of sanity. Time seems to slow. Each minute of the 45 minutes of signal blackout stretches. The astronauts take black and white photographs documenting the rugged terrain, but their movements are mechanical. A silent reverence is imposed by the environment. The spacecraft continues its orbit, rounding the lunar curvature, slowly approaching the horizon where sunlight begins to tear through the darkness. Remember that ocean of dead craters from the beginning? It finally makes sense, and the answer creates a larger problem. Because the brutality of the far side isn't just a record of the solar system's violent past, it is a shield. The far side took the harshest blows so that the visible side, and consequently Earth, would be spared some of that cosmic annihilation. But as they understand this, their orbit carries them to the terminator, the line where lunar night meets day. And what awaits them on the other side of that line will redefine our species. The gray dust of the lunar surface silently glides 112 kilometers below the hatch. What comes next wasn't in any briefing.
The Apollo capsule floats on a small glass window, expecting to see only the monotonous continuation of the gray landscape being illuminated by the sun. But then, Slowly rising above the moon's desolate and barren horizon, a point of color emerges. A fragile sphere swirling with white clouds and oceans of an impossible blue, contrasting violently with the infinite darkness and the dead gray of the foreground. It is Earth, the Earthrise. The shock is instantaneous. Astronaut William Anders drops the flight plan and frantically searches for a roll of color film for the Hasselblad camera. The haste in their movements inside the cabin is the reflection of an epiphany. They had traveled 384,000 kilometers to explore the moon, but the true discovery, the real impact of crossing the far side, was discovering Earth. Seeing the entire planet suspended in the void, without visible borders, fragile as a drop of water in the midst of an ocean of hostile darkness, changes the architecture of the mind. The far side forced maximum sensory deprivation so that the return of Earth's image carried the weight of a revelation. And this revelation didn't stay in the past. In April 2026, the Artemis II mission carried 4 new astronauts, Wiseman, Glover, Koch, and Hansen, back to that same shadow. They went even deeper, breaking Apollo 13's distance record, reaching almost 400,000 kilometers from Earth. They plunged into the same radio silence, flew over the same hidden craters, faced the same absolute isolation, and the lunar shadow proved its power remains intact. Technology has changed, spacecraft are more advanced, but the overwhelming impact of being on the other side of the moon is an unalterable human constant. But what permanent scar does this vision leave on those who return from the abyss? The white noise from the speaker suddenly crackles with the distorted voice of a man breaking the silence. Telemetry flows back to the screens in Houston. Contact is re-established. The human mind, when deprived of planet Earth and plunged into the absolute desert of the moon's far side, doesn't break, it expands. The deprivation forced the crew to look back, transforming the lunar shadow into the most powerful mirror ever built by nature. Extreme isolation proved that the absence of our world is the only mechanism capable of showing us the true value and extreme fragility of our existence in the cosmos. The far side isn't just rock, it's the necessary point of contrast for us to understand who we are. But the silent craters of that hemisphere hide magnetic anomalies and massive metallic structures buried beneath the regolith that completely defy our planetary formation models. Earthlight illuminates the instrument panel one last time as the capsule continues its mathematical trajectory, slowly gliding back into the darkness where the stars don't twinkle.